Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. My name is Zevotek. I'm a research engineer with Underwriters Laboratories in the U.S. We have offices all over the country, though, so we even have local office here in Arnhem, mostly centered around product testing. However, we also have a not-for-profit research arm, which is where I work out of. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Close Before You Doze project. So essentially, after decades of fire research into firefighter safety, we identified one really crucial public safety message that was missing from almost all the public safety messaging we saw out there. So rather than try and insert it into different public safety messages, we actually launched a direct-to-consumer fire safety message program at the office. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, one, how we went about doing that, and two, the message that is really associated with it. I apologize. I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm going to do my absolute best. I have to give the presentation twice, though, so we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of videos, so hopefully that can sustain me here. So I work in a group known as the Firefighter Safety Research Institute. So it's part of the not-for-profit under UL. It falls under our general fire safety research team. And our mission is to increase firefighter knowledge with the hope that if we have smarter firefighters, we have more effective and efficient firefighters, which leads to a prevention in firefighter injuries and deaths, but also a reduction of civilian injuries and deaths and increased property protection. So as a whole, we are looking to increase the knowledge in the fire service. And how do we do that? We're doing that through research. What is the Close Your Door campaign? Well, after about 10 years of research, we identified that the conditions behind a closed door in a structure fire, a residential house fire, are so much better than any of the other spaces in the house that the simple action of being behind a door could mean the difference between surviving and not surviving a structure fire. Drastic differences. So what are we looking at when we talk about those differences? So I have a video here, and it's slowly playing, you can see, of a dining room in one of our experiments and a bedroom in one of our experiments. In the bedroom, the door is closed. It is actually closer to the room that's on fire than the dining room area here. The dining room is actually the furthest point from the fire. You see our smoke starts to build up there, but the important thing to watch is our temperatures as we're going through there. We're monitoring temperature at 2-foot increments, 0.6 meters, up from the floor to the ceiling. And you see, as soon as we start to develop this smoke layer out here in the dining room, temperatures start to go up at the ceiling level. The camera here is right about 3 feet or somewhere around 1.5 meters. And we see that the temperature there within 4 minutes of the fire starting is in excess of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. When we look at that room with the closed door, we do have some smoke coming in, but it just isn't able to get that hot temperature and even obscure the visibility inside there. So because we're being overly optimistic in this instance, I believe we start to initiate suppression somewhere about 7.5 minutes. However, you can see the difference of over 500 degrees Fahrenheit outside the room, and we've just initiated suppression there, you can see, as compared to the temperatures in the space. It's smoky. It's probably somewhere where you're coughing a whole heck of a lot, but it certainly is not that hazard that is outside that room. And this just happens to be one example of it. We have over 100 experiments we've done in similar house layouts, and every single time we're seeing the exact same thing inside that room. So that has led us to the importance of making sure that that door stays closed. We can take a little bit of a different look at it if we're looking at like a living room fire that is open to a second floor, where we have an open and a closed bedroom on the second floor. It's actually more hazardous to be on the second floor of a first floor fire because it fills up faster with all the smoke that's coming off the first floor before the fire on the first floor can get affected by the lack of oxygen. So you'll notice this, this bedroom up here will just fill completely with smoke in under 3 minutes of lighting the sofa on fire inside the living room. Whereas our closed bedroom here, we do have some leakage around the door, but it's just a very, very different exposure. There's actually, we know them as halogen lights, about a 500 watt or 1,000 watt halogen light in the corner of that room, and you can't even see it anymore as smoke is so dense inside that open room, as compared to the closed bedroom where you can kind of see some of the sides of the door there. So we were, although we knew this and we saw it in research, we were really struggling with what to do about it. We were letting the fire service know that this is a really important thing, mainly so that they could target better their search and rescue operations. If they found a closed door, it's a really good chance that it's survivable behind that closed door. Thank you, Martin. However, we struggled with how do you get that out to the public. And this group here, our Public Safety Advisory Group, came to us and proposed that we need to really start to include this in public safety messaging. There's things out there such as stop, drop, and roll, or the importance of smoke alarms, but this just wasn't included. And the importance, excuse me, the importance of it was really highlighted to us by these individuals, and they really pitched this project to us of how do we get it out to the public. So because we're a research organization and we really don't know how to create a marketing campaign, we have a marketing person on our staff, but I'm an engineer. When I go out and talk to people, I talk in engineer speak. There's temperatures and gas concentrations, and I'm really excited about how fast the sofa burns versus how fast the bed burns and everything. You go out into the general population and they look at you like you have 8 heads. So we decided that engineers probably, although we have a lot of good information, we're probably not the best at tailoring a message to make it so that it's applicable to the general population. So with this, we decided, you know what, we got to go out and get a partner. We actually contracted with a marketing firm to help us go through and start what we considered phase 1 of the project. And phase 1 of the project was, what catchy social media concept can we use that would allow us to get this message out in a manner that is both interesting, but it hits all kinds of levels of education, background, age, demographic, and what can we do about that? So their idea, not ours, was actually to create a music video. And you may think ahead of time, a music video for a fire safety message. I also thought this is pretty ridiculous. However, the first time I listened to it, I'm driving home in the car that night and I'm singing it to myself in my head going, well, like, clearly we got that one right because I've managed to remember it. So we're gonna take a quick look at this. This is actually one of the first things we put out from the project.
Construction and furniture? Yeah, close your bedroom door at night and take heat. Helps to blow a fire's speed. So, close your bedroom door at night. House is nice.
Sorry.
Door
So it's a little cheesy, as you see from the first time. I admit that wholeheartedly. However, when I showed it to my nephew the first time and he's dancing around the living room singing the song, in my mind, I'm like, well, it clearly worked the way I was hoping it to, right? To the extent now that my sister-in-law, it drives her nuts that he won't go to sleep unless the door's closed. But it worked, right? It hit something that, as an engineer, I would have never thought could have been successful, right? There's no data in there. There's very limited science in there. It doesn't even look like a real fire, but man, did it catch on. And initially, the only places we shared it were social media. We used Facebook and Twitter and created a couple of campaigns out there, and it really started to take off for us. And we realized the most important part of a lot of the messaging that we have is you need to make it easy for people to share. So not just a quick social media post, but we ended up putting together an actual website that you could visit, closeyourdoor.org, and it had on it as much information as we could put in there. And it also allowed us to add a little bit of the science piece to it. We could put some facts up there about fires that kind of hit home why this is important. One of the main ones, fire's getting faster. We're seeing flashover in 3 minutes where we were seeing it in 17 minutes before. Now, I'm not totally sold on the new shiny house versus the old house with the eyebrows over there. However, it gets the message across in that manner that, this is why you need to change your habits. We could talk a little bit about what the difference is between an open and a closed door, where the temperature in an open bedroom was over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The level of oxygen was down to 8% in there, and levels of carbon monoxide exceeded 10,000 parts per million. That's one breath lethal. When you compared that to the closed bedroom with under 100 degrees, 18% oxygen, and 100 parts per million of CO, it was kind of just this no-brainer of how drastically different this is. But how do you go about explaining that at a level that now is interesting and exciting? Because obviously no one wants a fire in their house. We all want to be prepared for a fire, but nobody actually wants one. So how do you get a message across like that? That's where initially we started to look at some of the statistics with it. And almost 50% of fire fatalities happen between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. and they're in the bedroom. The person who perished in the fire was located in their bedroom. So if that's a 50% statistic in the U.S., we could close the door and that increases the chances. It becomes one of those things that's like, you don't have to buy anything. We're not selling you anything. We actually don't get a benefit whether you close your door or not, other than we really want to get this message out there to help people be safer. And then take it one step further is, why does it protect the bedroom so much? Well, it's because the smoke can't get in there. However, if we take a look at the front door, we realize that the size of the fire was directly proportional to the oxygen that's available. Now that's nothing new. There was a gentleman named Thomas Thornton, who created a rule. In science, rules are things that they've been able to prove out. Created a rule in 1917 that said the amount of energy that comes off a burning object is directly proportional to the oxygen that is consumed. Less oxygen, less fire. If you close the front door, the smoke fills the house so fast and there's so limited oxygen in the smoke that it chokes the fire down. So you can take damage that would potentially have been fire from every window when the fire department arrives. If you shut the door when you left the house, now they got smoke, but there's a chance that you can save the stuff that's inside. But of course, it's not just all about closing the door, and that the fire safety message needs to be so much more than that. So with that message on our website, we created videos for the close your door video. There's a temperature difference video, but then we started to look at what are some flyers that we can put out there that talk about evacuation plans and smoke alarms and the importance of understanding those things so that you get the holistic fire safety message from one place. But that only got us so far. We realized that to get the fire safety message out there, you have to really make it easy for the fire service to deliver this message. I'm not sure how it is here, but in the US, firefighters are visiting schools, they're handing out flyers, and essentially anytime we go to someone's house, I happen to have the immense pleasure of being a volunteer firefighter as well as a researcher, so I get both sides of this. And we go to someone's house and I'm automatically looking around. It was a medical call for the parents, but do they have a smoke alarm? You know, do they have trip hazards if it's an elderly home? The firefighter, it's just ingrained in them to do that. So what information can we provide them to help them through that process of getting the message of close your door out? So we tacked onto the website a additional domain that was firstresponders.closeyourdoor.org, and it was directly addressed to getting first responders the tools they need to be able to send this information out to the public. And to the extent we created a toolbox which allowed not only to some suggestions on how to get the information out, but the actual flyers and information that could go with it. So here's an example of one of the videos we recorded to send out to the fire service. This is Pete Peringer. He is the public information officer of the Montgomery County Fire Department, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. He actually pitched this to us because he said, we need to have, your toolbox is great. I love how I figured it out, but every time I talk to someone, they say it's too complicated. So here was his message on getting the information.
We know how much a closed door can help in a fire. The challenge is making sure everyone else knows close before you doze. That's where public relations comes in. Now, if your department doesn't have a PIO, dealing with reporters might seem harder than putting out a 5-alarm fire, but it's really not. Trust me. Let's walk through this. Head to the toolbox right here on your portal. There's quite a few PR assets, everything from a press release, video content, photos, even a pre-written column you can add your byline to. Reporters love this stuff, and they'll likely appreciate you providing it to them. So download what you need. Next, reach out to a local reporter or two, someone who has covered community news or fires. Now, just download this email, which you'll also find in the toolbox. Attach what you want to share, personalize it, and hit send. Remember, reporters are often putting out fires themselves, so if you don't hear back soon, just give them a shout. You can walk them through the whole program. There's even talking points right there in the portal to make it easier for you. And don't forget, there's a ton of social media assets in your toolbox as well, which you can share yourself across your own Facebook and Twitter accounts. The more ways we can help spread the word, the more doors we can help close, and the more lives we can help save.
So since we in the Firefighter Safety Research Institute have an immense firefighter following, we not only started sharing social media posts about the Close Your Door, but we started sharing posts like this that really help to get that message out and how it looks. So the program has been going for about 2 years now, and we've got a little video here that kind of just goes over the recap of what the last 2 years looked like.
When fire sweeps through a home, a closed door can be the difference between life and death. We knew this, so did the fire service, but the ones it mattered to most didn't. So in 2016, we launched the Close Your Door campaign direct to consumers, and it got attention. But we knew we could take it further with the help of these guys. We needed to get on their radar, so we started with a memorable hook. Close before you doze. This line worked hard. It broadened our call to action to close all doors in the home and expanded the appeal beyond just kids and families to reach firefighters and all consumers. And the campaign we built around it worked even harder, thanks to some powerful tools we created for the fire service, including an online portal featuring a whole library of materials easy to download and deliver to their communities. Also, an e-commerce experience for the fire service with easy-to-order, close before you doze materials shipped directly to the firehouse. We created social content they could share on their own social media channels, making the fire service a powerful amplifier for our message. And together, we spread the word to their communities through the news media, including ABC's Good Morning America.
What you're about to see is something so many people have never even heard of. You're talking about something as simple as closing a door, and that can make the difference between life and death.
UL now relaunching the safety campaign, Close Before You Doze.
We also created significant coverage across local news broadcasts, newspaper articles, and other stories online. It's clear the news media embraced our message. The results have been remarkable. And guess what? We're not done. In just over a year, Close Before You Doze has become one of the main fire safety tips provided to the public by both the fire service and the media. UL science is helping to affect a generational change, empowering people to make a safer choice that could potentially save their lives.
So it's been an awesome 2 years to watch this program grow and continue throughout both the U.S. and internationally as we start to pick these up. But we had to think more, again, with the aid of our marketing folks, on what really resonates with the audience. What is going to be that impactful thing that you can see that is going to demonstrate to you the importance of this particular thing? So we took a structure that we had used for a whole bunch of research testing, and some of you have seen our research videos. It's not the nicest structure. You wouldn't necessarily want to live there. And we did this one up exactly like a residential house. We put pictures on the wall. We put stuffed animals in the bedroom. And I'll just kind of share with you the video here that talks through the project that we did and how we made it so that it resonated the best with the fire service and the public. Oop. Sorry.
We're here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center in Pennsylvania, where we're repurposing one of our test fixtures to do a demonstration for Fire Prevention Week on the importance of closing your door. This year's theme, Close Before You Doze, will let us highlight the importance of putting that important barrier between you and the potential fire before you go to sleep at night. We're going to have an experiment where we're going to light the fire in the living room, cutting off your main source of egress. We're going to see how long it takes those smoke alarms to go off to give you that early warning, and look at what important role that the closed door plays in providing you time to be woken, understand what's happening around you, decide whether or not you can get out safely or not, and ultimately, if you can't, the important protection that it provides you to buy you time so the fire department can come and rescue you. In this 3-bedroom house, what's important to us is how long the occupants would have to survive. In order to determine that, we've got temperature measurements in every foot in every room in the house. We've got oxygen, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide measurements in the bedrooms as well as the hallway to understand what the potential occupants would be exposed to, along with our regular measurements of pressure, video, thermal imaging throughout the house so we can quantify the fire behavior. We're going to start the fire by lighting a sofa with a candle in the living room. That fire is going to begin to spread across the sofa, filling the house with smoke and heat. That smoke is going to begin to bank down. What we're looking at is the obvious difference in conditions between the open bedroom and the closed bedrooms and what that means for occupant survival time. We're going to allow that fire to progress, and we're going to be watching the front windows to the living room. The question to us is going to be, are those front living room windows going to fail or not? That fire is going to become ventilation limited, the windows are going to go out, we're going to have fire out of the front of the house, and we're going to continue to look at how that deteriorates conditions inside the house. Once we have that fire out the windows and things are not survivable in the open bedroom, we're going to have our suppression crew go ahead and move in, put the fire out.
So that was a video that we produced with the intent of trying to meld that science, because there was a good amount of that in there, with that message and that impactful visual of the open versus the closed bedroom. And the other side of it is, as we start to think through and talk through individuals as we send this message out, we hear a lot of things on, well, hey, my house is safe because I have smoke alarms. Or how is the smoke going to get out of my house if I keep the door closed? So we have to constantly evolve the message to be able to answer those questions that actually the individuals have. Interesting takeaway from it. My son was born about a year ago, and I don't know if any of you have young kids in the room, but since the event of Facebook, it seems to be very popular for young mothers to get together on Facebook groups and talk about all the things that it is to be about a young mother. If any of you have done this, or your wife may have, you'll know it's quite popular. My wife is on it all the time. However, the other day, she comes to me and goes, hey, guess what? Somebody shared your message on my Facebook group, and now there's all kinds of questions. You got to help me answer all these questions for this individual. But that's a success in my mind, because I didn't share it there. I didn't put it there. Somebody else picked it up, and now we can kind of provide that information. And now it's her providing that information and not us providing that information out. So as we go through the messaging and the information that we're putting out there, we're always trying to simplify it. Things like you can make a 900-degree difference, 1,000 versus 100 degrees. Or you can take the concentration levels down, 1/10 of the concentration. And then including that science in there that the fire needs oxygen to burn. If it doesn't have that oxygen, it doesn't go there. And then talk a little bit about why it's so important to do it in the evening. So what's next? It's been a great campaign. We've got a lot of information out there. 57,000 impressions or 57 million impressions as of a couple of months ago when we started to track the data. So we need to go further. 57 million in the U.S. We're still 1/6 of the U.S. population. There's a whole lot more information we can do out there and get out there. So with that, we realized we're essentially exceeding the capabilities of our initial marketing partner, but we want to keep them involved because they did such a great job. So they actually suggested we bring in an additional firm that has a little bit different spin on it so that we can go a whole nother level with all this information. So as we started to look at what gets the most shares or what gets the most traction on social media, we realized it's animated stuff. So although, slightly cheesy, we put some animations together. Just something simple that can get shared on social media. And again, not something I as an engineer would have thought of, but as the marketing campaigns and the groups we brought in, they assure us this is going to have a greater impact and going to be able to get more information out there. And they've been correct so far, so I don't know why we wouldn't trust them. We've evolved some of our social media posts to allow it to, again, our audience is firefighters, so how do we increase that reach and increase that audience? As well as keeping that same message together for what is important. The other part about it was we started to think, you know what? We got to address some of these myths, because if we don't start addressing some of these myths, they're just going to be the excuses to not go further at this public safety message. So we created myth extinguisher videos.
Many people think that a common bedroom door doesn't provide much protection from fire. However, a closed bedroom door could buy you valuable time needed to escape or to be rescued by the fire department. Always close all interior doors before you go to sleep.
Something simple involving one of our fire service partners to get that message out there, but also addressing the misconceptions of some of the that knowledge that could be out there. And we know we hit a huge success. This was hit on earlier in one of my videos, but I wanna play this for you. You know you hit a huge success when the media comes to you and says, hey, we wanna do a segment on what you're doing. So that demonstration burn that we did that the earlier video talked about was actually picked up by Good Morning America, and here's the clip that they had.
Safety routines and how to protect yourself from a house fire. Half of those fires happen in the middle of the night. Experts say one simple step could save your life. Jim, you get through with that. Hey, Jim. Hey, guys. Good morning to you. Listen, what you're about to see is something so many people have never even heard of. You're talking about something as simple as closing a door, and that can make the difference between life and death. And I'll admit, I was amazed when we put UL to the test here with this incredible experiment. Take a look.
This is not a normal house fire. We're with UL, which helps set safety standards for a slew of industries, and now the company is creating a controlled fire to show the importance of closing your bedroom door before you go to sleep.
When you can't get out, the most important thing you can do, close that door between you and the fire, could save your life.
Alexis King survived the Corpus Christi house fire that killed her parents and brother when she was just 10. The home smoke alarm battery wasn't working. She believes closing her bedroom door saved her life.
The door helped me to still have clean air and to really figure out a way to get out.
UL now relaunching a safety campaign, Close Before You Doze. How much of a difference can it make? We're about to find out. UL built this home to serve as a test facility.
You're going to light the house on fire. We're going to safety. For safety.
It's wired with cameras and sensors to track temperature and gas levels. All the info being fed to this control center so UL can monitor the fire. 2 bedrooms will have the doors closed, but the other...
And we're going to leave that one open so we get to see the difference.
With the Philadelphia Fire Department standing by, I start a fire with a candle on the living room sofa. Let's get out. We return to the control center.
So we got a fire in the living room. I mean, you can see how...
Oh yeah, you can already see the smoke.
Take a look at the bedroom with the open door.
See the smoke beginning?
Oh, yeah.
In the bedroom?
275 degrees.
Absolutely, not survivable.
But check out the rooms with the doors closed. The temperatures are much lower.
You've got 97 degrees in one, 69 in the other. These are the closed door rooms.
Very survivable. So there you go. The top of the window came out.
After 10 minutes, UL puts the fire out, and we look at the aftermath.
Here is the room with the open door. Look at this, we've got the TV melted.
Temperatures in the room with the open door reached 500 degrees. The carbon monoxide readings, 6,000 parts per million. An industry standard carbon monoxide alarm would go off at 70. But what a difference in the bedrooms with the doors closed.
And
animals, they're just fine.
Bed's cleared.
I mean, what's incredible is that this door sort of acted like a shield.
Exactly what it did.
Temperatures only got up to 100, and carbon monoxide levels were 10 times lower than the open room.
And so many of us close those doors instinctively. You know, my grandparents' house, it burned down years ago, and it was just totally engulfed in flames. Now we know the only reason they survived is because they always slept with that door closed. Who knew? I close the doors all the time. My kids open. That's a different. What else do experts recommend? Listen, you gotta have those smoke alarms. Have those ready to go. Have those working, and just make sure you have an escape plan. Good advice, Jupiter. Thanks very much.
So the important thing to note is that's millions of dollars in advertising that we could have done that the media has picked up for us. And they picked it up for us because our marketing partners knew exactly the things to highlight to the media that has that sensational story associated with it. As an engineer, couldn't have done that. No way that's going to happen in my lifetime. However, they certainly know what they're up to. They do get a little crazy every now and then. The next step is to try and use some of our recommended pet influencers, and I thought this was utterly ridiculous until I realized that somehow they have millions of followers on some of these Instagram posts of the fire cat or the fire dog. And so the next step is to partner with the people that run these social media accounts to try and further that message and get the information out there further. Again, a little wacky, but I bet you it works. I bet you it gets the information out there. We've also started to develop some new handouts that you can download off our website. All of these are available. All of these are free. If you go to the toolbox today, you can select which ones you want, download the print quality, get it printed yourself. If you happen to be in the US, I'm not sure if they ship overseas yet, you can actually go direct to a print shop that we have contracted with. There is zero markup on them whatsoever. It is the cost that is the cost, and you just pay to get them printed yourself and shipped right to your firehouse. The ability to get that information directly in the hands of the people that need that particular information. And things that I would, again, not thought of, you know, stickers. Everybody's got a sticker on the back of their laptop. Now we're putting a sticker together for the Close Your Door campaign, and how does it look? The other thing that was really interesting that they put together, which I, again, wouldn't have thought of, is a essentially, how many have seen the car advertisement where they bring you in, they show you the car, and then they reveal what model car it is? It's a big surprise. They're huge in the US. They thought, why can't we do something like that for general public? They picked a focus group and brought them into the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center and said, hey, we want to talk to you about fire safety messaging. And they kind of did a little talk about fire safety messaging, but then they sprung on them this surprise demonstration. And we actually built a prop that allows us to compare an open bedroom to a closed bedroom. So on the far side of the prop, we could light a fire. That fire could go down the hallway past 2 bedrooms. However, the neat part about it is we designed walls that flap down. One of our technicians, Mike Alt, actually designed a method where it's completely furnished and drywalled on the inside. After the fire, he goes in there and grabs a piece of wire that rips all the drywall up perfectly, so it just flaps right down, and then you can be on the outside and actually see that comparative difference of those two items. So here's what that looked like. So you have a fairly decent sized fire. Obviously, it's not going to break those 2 windows because you're looking at the closed and an open bedroom. The door at the end of the hallway is open so that you can get the most out of that fire and try and see what it looks like. And then we did the great big reveal. This is our focus group out front here. And that's just incredibly drastic difference between that open and that closed bedroom. The before pictures down here on the left before we button up those walls. And then there's your after picture there. And it's just that powerful, impactful statement that we could send out there. This also got picked up by the Today Show, so we had them on with Rawson Reports looking and doing that same concept of how do we get that information out there to the public. Excuse me. And then wanted to take it one step further. After the success of our first Montgomery County video, we wanted to reach out not just to firefighters, but can we move it to police and dispatchers? So we created a little campaign to do that.
Firefighters know how important it is to close before you doze, and it's time that everyone else does too. If you're here, it means you're willing to help, which is awesome. And the good news is we brought our friends in blue to help out too.
That's right. We're happy to share this important safety message. Even better, the good people at the UL Firefighter Safety Research Institute have created a ton of easy-to-use, close-before-you-doze materials for fire service, fire marshals, fire investigators, police officers, and 911 dispatchers, all designed to help us spread the word about this life-saving tip.
Here's how it works. Head to the toolbox right here on the portal. You'll find a ton of great tools, from informational flyers, home magnets, stickers, door hangers, and much more. You can either download and print them on your own, or click here to place an order and have them shipped right to your doorstep.
If you're a 911 dispatcher, you can get information on how to advise callers to close their doors in a fire emergency.
There's also a ton of great social media content that you can download and share across your organization's social media. Videos, infographics, animated GIFs, and other content that help remind people to close before you doze in fun, engaging ways.
The message we're getting out to our citizens is just that. Close doors before you go to bed. Hopefully it'll help save your life and your property.
We're now going to have a few generations coming forward that will have close before you doze ingrained in them. And I think that that's going to make a tremendous difference.
The more ways we can spread the word, the more lives we can save. Let's get out there and close some doors. Firefighters know how.
So the question is it working, right? We've got all this messaging out there. How do we measure if this is actually working? Well, it actually started to happen on its own for us. We started to see all kinds of success stories of, you know, closing your door either when you're leaving a fire or having your door closed at night or when you're sleeping. This just happens to be out of Grand Prairie, Canada, where there was a fire in the bedroom, an electrical fire in the bedroom, and the young girl closed the bedroom door when she left. And you can see just by the damaged photos, the bedroom is not really that damaged as compared to what it would look like if that room had transitioned to flashover and actually been burning out that window. It's damaged, obviously not a lot savable in that, but the rest of the house is in a good condition. And it even goes further. There's a story out of Washington State, the fire marshal brought this to attention, that there were two 3-year-old girls asleep in this bedroom. There's a fire in the house. The door was closed. And the fire department was actually able to get there, put the fire out, and rescue them out of the bedroom. And even the fire marshal attributes that exact instance to being the door being closed for them to survive. Same thing out of Montgomery County, Maryland. You know, you had a door. That door was able to make it so that the occupants had enough time to escape from the fire. So we're seeing all kinds of promotion to that. We're going to continue with all of the creative methods that our marketing campaigns have put out there, even a little Valentine's Day hearts on Valentine's Day, and the different infographics that they can put together in an effort to get this information out as fast as possible. One interesting thing that we never even thought of and actually didn't even happen completely organically, but fire departments started using doors as a method of, hey, you're at the firehouse for open house, or you're coming down for a fire prevention detail. One fire department here had them sign the door that they're going to close the door at night. Huge hit with the kids. They thought it was the greatest thing ever. They have doors where they had it burned on one side, not burned on the other, and how does that messaging come out? Even had this little girl here whose father is a firefighter, but she did her science fair project on Close Your Door and won the science fair for her school. So really cool information. And then not only nationally, but we're getting this picked up locally in a lot of the different news outlets talking about how this information is getting shared throughout the public. And then another important piece is just to add that buy-in. So we took people from our advisory board, which are actually influential fire chiefs from around the country, and we started to let them send the message for us.
I'm the Deputy Chief with the FDNY. Derek Alconis, Assistant Fire Chief, Los Angeles County Fire Department. I'm Adam Tito, Fire Commissioner for the City of Philadelphia. You know, as firefighters, we're taught from day one the importance of door control.
We always strive to isolate ourselves from the fire by closing a door.
The difference between an open door and a closed door could be life or death.
You know, that close your door at night tagline, it certainly means a lot, but it really means a lot when it comes from a firefighter who understands the importance of closing that door at night.
This is that very important fire safety message that we need to get to the general public. At night when you go to bed, you close your door.
Close before you doze. Simple as that.
Close before you doze.
Close before you doze.
So like I said, it doesn't require a major effort. We're not asking anyone to go out and purchase anything, and we really think that that has given us the greatest impact that we could potentially have throughout the world with the messaging. None of this would be possible without the massive team that we have behind this at UL. I happen to be fortunate enough to come to present to you today, but each one of these individuals has a hand in the messaging and the research that has gone through putting this all together. If you like what you see, feel free to visit our website. We can, there's all kinds of information on our fire safety research there, ulfirefightersafety.org, or more importantly, head to closeyourdoor.org, download some of the information and share it out there with your communities. It's not just for the fire service. If you're a fire safety engineer and you're asked to come speak at school on what a fire safety engineer does, this information is great to get out there. I know I'm a little early on the presentation, but I'm trying to save my voice so I can make it through another one. So at this point, I'll take any questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, thank you very much. Any questions?
Just ask one. I mean, there's obviously an expense to UL for doing this, and it's wonderful that you're doing it. The funding, is it just from goodwill, or?
So, yeah, this whole program is just funded directly from UL. There's no government grants or anything associated with it. We pitched the message to the CEO of UL, and he basically said, tell me how much it'll cost. We need to get that information out there. And he has championed it just like the rest of us. So I work for a really great organization that truly believes not only in testing for fire safety and the profitability of our company, but giving back when we get that information. And that's really what funds a lot of our research and a lot of the information that goes out there. So I do hear often that, hey, your research is all, you're trying to make money. We don't make any money on research. Anyone who's ever done research knows that you don't make any money on research. You just make a lot more questions and hopefully a couple answers in the end.
Are you getting back signals from fire departments that people indeed are closing doors?
Oh, absolutely. We get the social media ones, but we're constantly getting phone calls and messages that is like, hey, just wanted to let you know this works. You know, we had this safe. We were able to get in and get somebody that we don't think we could have gotten if they hadn't been sleeping with their door closed. And they told us they saw your message, and that's why they do it. Even fire departments that didn't know about the message, someone told them, the occupant says, yeah, I can't believe it. I remembered that message about close your door. And then they contact us and go, what message about close your door? I heard there's this close your door message. So it's really taken on a life of its own.
Do you combine the message with smoke alarms? Because when you close the smoke alarm in the hallway, it will not react when it's in your bedroom.
So, yeah, so that's one of those myth extinguisher videos that we're working on. We ran a couple of tests looking at that exact thing, and it only seemed, because the smoke leaks around the door, it only seems to delay it by about 30 to 40 seconds on the activation. And the decibel level, how loud the smoke alarm is still within the regulation standard if the smoke alarm is in the hallway and it's in the bedroom. But we're working on, with the marketing folks, creative messaging around that, because it is a concern. I mean, people have a valid concern on that. And how do we show that actual impact, not just be a myth, but facts associated with it.